Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world. Coming up, hundreds of activists, politicians, business leaders and the occasional celebrity descend on the French beachside town of Deauville to attend the annual Women's Forum. Also, we talk to Dina Goldstein, the photographer whose work demolishes the princess myth. But we begin here in France and in particular the Normandy beach resort of Deauville that's been playing host to the annual Women's Forum. The gathering attracts the cream of business and political elite from around the world, as well as many others. We went to meet some of them. It's been 10 years since the first Women's Forum was held here in Deauville, and today some 1,300 people from 70 countries around the world are attending the gathering. But in the last decade, have women gained more influence? And more importantly, are their voices well and truly being heard? Let's go and talk to some of the people here to see what they think. Joining me now is Aurélie Salvert. Aurélie, you're a rare being in the sense that there are not too many women working in high tech. Tell me a little bit more about the Women's World Wide Web.
Women's World Wide Web is the first European-based crowdfunding platform dedicated to channel funds and support to different projects empowering women and girls all around the globe.
But Aurélie, are women in danger of being left behind in the digital revolution?
Less and less, actually, because there are some very easy devices and very easy tech solutions with the SMS and, very small basic phones, which allow women to have more information, to have access, for example, to information through radio in remote areas. We can see a vast improvement in the last years.
And now we're going to meet Shameen Obaid Shenoy, who's an award-winning Pakistani documentary filmmaker. Hello, Shameen.
Hi, how are you?
All right, nice to meet you. Shameen, the Women's Forum is celebrating its 10th anniversary. Tell me, what has changed in the last 10 years for women in Pakistan?
I think there's no easy way to answer how the lives of women have changed in the last 10 years in Pakistan. In some spheres, we've taken 5 steps ahead, and in others 20 steps backwards. On the government level, very little unfortunately has been done for women. A few years ago, a number of monumental legislation was passed in Parliament, which now makes a number of crimes punishable. Acid violence is punishable, rape punishable. So cosmetically, you could probably say that women have taken steps forward in terms of how our legislation has empowered women. But the reality on the ground is that very little of that legislation is actually followed through practically.
Finally, coming to a gathering like this, what sort of benefits does it offer you?
When I come out to a conference like the Women's Forum, it is to start a conversation with the rest of the world about the changes that are taking place in my country. At the Women's Forum, I'm presenting a film that I have done for Chime for Change, a campaign that enables women around the world to take up issues of health, justice and education. And it follows the story of a remarkable young girl who had a vision and a dream. The vision and the dream was to educate young boys and girls in her community, Humaira Bachel. And that vision and dream, the film that I made, partnered with Chime for Change, and we were able to raise enough money to set up a model school in her community that will affect generations to come. And so the message that I'm bringing here today is that girls have dreams and we together can empower them to realize their dreams.
पुराने स्कूल से बहुत सी यादें वाबस्ता हैं कि हमने अपनी शुरुआत यहाँ से की.
Shameen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So how far have women come in the last 10 years?
In the US, which is what I can speak about, I think women have made enormous progress. In fact, I think we're going to have a woman candidate for president this time in the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton.
What has changed positively is that it's obvious to almost everybody that politics improve for the benefit of everybody if there are more women in decision-making positions. And that's new, and that is something that gives optimism to work for the future, but we really need to be consistent on that point.
I think we need to be angry about the way women are treated in most parts of the world, and even in the best places, you know, in the world, there's always a little bit, like equality in France is great, but there's still some work to be done. And still France has a problem with domestic violence, gender mutilation and forced marriages. This is happening in France and people cannot believe it, but it's happening in Europe, in Western Europe. So there's a lot of work to do. So we need to get involved, we need to get informed, we need to do something about it.
Thank you so much.
And the next Women's Forum event is to be held in Burma in December. Now, if we were to believe fairy tales, the life of every princess always has a happy ending. As adults, we know that's not to be the case, but one Canadian photographer uses her images to destroy the princess myth. Dina Goldstein's striking collection of photos entitled Fallen Princesses has received worldwide critical acclaim. Her collection shows Snow White, Pocahontas and other iconic characters succumbing to rather tragic fates, including cancer, alcoholism and unhappy marriages. And she joins me in the studio today. Dina, thank you so much for being with us. Tell me, how did you come about to photograph such extraordinary images?
It all really started when my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. And at the same time, my daughter, Jordan, was very fixated with the Disney princess culture. I had never seen anything like that, and as a new mother of a daughter, I was very intrigued by this phenomenon and how my daughter, along with all her friends, were basically entranced with these princesses, and so I began to think, what if these princesses had to deal with real life issues, things that all women go through. And so I began to build a scenario for each princess and gave her her own narrative.
Tell me, how have people responded?
Well, it's really a mix of response. I get very many letters telling me or even thanking me for bringing out or exposing these perfect princesses and giving them really a real life journey. And the outpouring of thankful letters and happy letters is, I'm very grateful for.
What about men? How do they respond?
Them too, as well. I get really both a good response from both sexes. And then there is a little bit of criticism that comes along with it, with all of this, which I am also very open to.
What is the criticism? What do they say?
A lot of it is the interpretation of the photography. So everybody has their own way of seeing a picture. Or
are they projecting what they think in terms on those images? Are they projecting their values, you think?
I think that they don't really understand where I came from. For instance, Jasmine, I have her as a very strong female character with a machine gun in the desert. So I think that immediately people will go to or assume that because she is Middle Eastern that I've depicted her as a terrorist. But of course, that's not true. I've really given her, I've made her into a soldier and on the front lines, along the lines of women today fighting on the front lines. I respect that.
Now, you continue with that theme with another exhibition called In the Dollhouse, which stars Barbie and Ken. Tell me a little bit more about that exhibition.
So I have Barbie and Ken, who have been in this imposed marriage for over 50 years. And I've always thought that they were quite a mismatch. And after much research, you find out that Ken was actually always intended to be her brother and not her husband.
But in the series of photos, he literally comes out of the closet, doesn't he?
He absolutely does. I've freed him. And I feel like in my narrative, he has finally found his authentic self. And he's not afraid to come out and present this. Unfortunately, Barbie
she's not
had
too
no
happy.
idea all these years. And so this has come to a big shock for her. And in the dollhouse, she discovers Ken with his lover, and therefore finds herself breaking down, having a literal breakdown, and then at the finale loses her head.
Right.
Literally.
Okay. Now, how much damage do you think the princess myth and the Barbie factor have had on the women's movement as such?
I'm looking at how my daughters are presented with these characters and what their expectation of life is going to be. So without being too harsh in my mothering, I would like to give them the tools.
Another message.
And the tools to survive and to thrive in this most difficult world.
Dina, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And that's it for now. If you'd like to comment on what you've just seen, please head to our Facebook page. That's, of course, France24, the 51%, or do send us a tweet at _51%. Thanks for your feedback so far, and please keep those comments rolling in. Until our next program, bye for now.